If you enjoy stories about reclaiming your life and refusing to remain someone's fallback option, please consider subscribing to my channel. There are more accounts like this one about breaking free from being taken for granted and making it unmistakably clear that your loyalty is not an indefinite guarantee. I can still picture the morning my wife, Lauren, rolled her suitcase out of our bedroom, humming a carefree tune as if everything were perfectly normal. She announced she needed time to herself, a solo trip to Paris to rediscover herself and clear her head. But the excitement in her eyes wasn't the look of someone seeking solitude. It was the expression of a woman heading directly towards someone else. I watched silently as she moved through the house, pretending her story held up, pretending her words were sincere, pretending I couldn't see the truth she was trying to conceal. When she leaned in to kiss my cheek and said, "Don't make this bigger than it is," I understood that whatever she was keeping from me was on the verge of unraveling everything. The confirmation came quickly. Less than 4 hours after she left, my phone lit up with a message. "Take it easy. I'll be back in a week." Attached was a photo that stopped me cold. Lauren stood in an airport, beaming with unrestrained happiness. Directly behind her was her former boyfriend, positioned close enough to make his presence undeniable. She offered no explanation, no denial, no pretense of discretion. She simply assumed I would accept it, that I would remain committed and patient while she spent time with the man she had once left me for. That assumption was the breaking point. Rather than erupting in anger or pleading with her, a deep, unyielding resolve settled over me. I set my phone aside and walked next door to visit my neighbor, Mia, a woman who had recently gone through a divorce and moved in a couple of months earlier. She opened the door, her hair pulled back simply, and immediately sensed something was wrong. "You look like the ground just shifted beneath you," she said gently. For the first time in a long while, I felt able to speak openly. We sat together in her living room, and I laid out the situation. Lauren had boarded a plane with her ex-boyfriend, treating our marriage as something she could pause whenever it suited her. Mia listened without interrupting or passing judgment. As the details emerged, her expression moved from empathy to quiet astonishment at the sheer disregard Lauren had shown. Hearing someone else acknowledge the disrespect made it impossible to ignore any longer. I had been giving everything to a woman who viewed my steadfastness not as a virtue, but as a given. Then came another message from Lauren. "Don't turn this into a crisis. It's only a trip. You know I'll always return to you." That line exposed exactly how she saw our relationship. I showed the message to Mia, who let out a quiet, incredulous laugh. "She genuinely believes you'll always be there, no matter what she does," she observed. In that moment, the path forward became clear. Lauren had already made her choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. Without responding to Lauren, I turned to Mia and said, "Would you help me make sure she understands exactly where things stand?" A faint, understanding smile crossed Mia's face as she moved closer and placed her hand lightly on my shoulder. The gesture was simple, yet it carried an unmistakable sense of connection and mutual respect. I raised my phone, took a clear photo of the two of us sitting together, our faces close, calm, and composed, and attached it to a single, straightforward message. "Take it easy. You've already been replaced." Then I sent it. The response was immediate and chaotic. Notifications flooded in as her messages shifted rapidly from confidence to confusion to outright desperation. "Who is that woman? Why is she in our home? You can't be serious. Please respond." Her certainty that she held a permanent place in my life collapsed the instant she realized it was no longer secure. She wasn't overcome with remorse or grief. She was enraged that I wasn't chasing after her, terrified that I had finally recognized my own value. The calls and voice messages poured in, rambling explanations, abrupt apologies, attempts to shift blame. It was a mistake. He insisted I come along. I never expected you to react this way. Her composure unraveled with every word. As I listened, Mia watched with a steady, protective demeanor and said quietly, "You don't deserve to be treated as an afterthought." In that clarity, I understood that I was not only finished with Lauren, but prepared to move forward without settling for intermittent scraps of loyalty. Word of the situation spread through our shared contacts. Lauren tried to regain control by posting scattered, emotional updates online, venting one moment, deleting them the next, then leaving frantic comments on my old photos. Mutual acquaintances captured screenshots, and her unraveling became the central topic in group conversations. The woman who had departed with such self-assuredness was now the clear example of what happens when someone who assumes unwavering devotion discovers it is no longer there. When she returned from Paris, she bore no trace of the confidence she had carried away. Her face was drawn and puffy from crying, her movements heavy and depleted. She pulled her suitcase up to our front porch, only to find the locks had been changed and a brief note secured to the door. "You told me to take it easy, so I have." She sank onto the steps and broke down in tears. As Mia stepped out to stand beside me in the driveway, Lauren's expression filled with stunned realization. She was no longer the fixed center of my world. I turned and walked away with Mia at my side, leaving behind the only sound of Lauren's trembling voice pleading, "Please don't leave." But I already had.